the Indiana Pacers now head into a stretch with a lot of practice time, I would think, here with just 2 games in the next 9 days or so. And to talk more about it, Rick Carlisle joins us now. Coach, good morning to you. How you doing?
Doing fine.
Big fourth quarter from your top 3 last night. Some shot making certainly as the lead evaporated, and I thought some big-time hustle plays from the great story that is Ethan Thompson. What did you see change there once Sacramento took the lead there late?
Well, we buttoned things down defensively. That was the big thing. I mean, a 17-point defensive quarter in the fourth was absolutely needed. And right now, our identity has got to be that we're a defense-first team. There's evidence that we're very capable of it. Last 8 games, I think we're ranked 4th in defense in the league. I mean, that's a real positive thing. Offensively, things come and go with shot making and this, that, and the other. But the defense in the fourth was key. And then Nembhard had a monster game. Siakam played extremely well, as virtually it seems like he always does. And then Mathurin was terrific. And so, good win. We got a more or less an off day today, 2 days of practice, and then head to Philly.
Rick, when you look at Andrew Nembhard's career, and I'm thinking back to his rookie season, I believe he had a game winner against the Lakers at the buzzer, so he's made big shots before. But how have you seen him just continue to grow in those fourth quarters, the big moments, and embrace the challenges that kind of await when things get tight?
Yeah, fearless player, really is, and had an attitude of just kind of this moxie when he came here as a first-year player. He was good in training camp. He's one of our better defensive players. Was not spectacular offensively, but we knew that he had the lineage. He had the career at Gonzaga. I think they went to the final game or the Final Four, whatever it was, his senior year, and I didn't even play him in game 1 that year. Game 2, I think we played. May have been Detroit that we played or something, but we needed him to guard, I think, Cade Cunningham in his rookie year, and he came in there and was terrific and really solid. And then it became clear that the thing to do may be to put him as a secondary ball handler and a hybrid 2 guard, and a guy that could take a matchup to start games. And so, we kind of ended up going that direction in relatively short order. And that's how it's gone. Now this year, the role is extremely different, being the main guy with the ball, the main guy taking a matchup. And so one of the challenges has been, who can we put next to him that can give us a little ball handling, who is also a solid defender, who can make an open shot, when he's feeling the heat and getting a lot of extra attention. And so, the irony is Shepherd had played one of his best games against Denver, and then he got banged up. And so, we're in Chicago, and we had Ethan Thompson on the roster for a couple of days, and I just felt, it's time to give this guy an early look. And he's a 25 or 26-year-old guy, so it's not like he's your typical first-year player. He's been playing professional basketball for 5 or 6 years. He just has a moxie and a tone about him, where he's just unafraid, looks like he belongs, and he stepped right out into the game against Chicago, and frankly, it was hard to get him out of the game. So he did well there last night. I thought he was solid again, and so that's, as you mentioned, that's a really nice story, and as we move forward, we're going to keep trying to get guys a little healthier each day and keep working on who we are.
Rick, for those that might have missed it, could you share on specifically that Friday game with Chicago? I don't know if maybe you found out Shepherd's status for the game, but, Ethan Thompson was originally, I think, drilling with some of your developmental guys over at the United Center, and then you realized what it was going to look like for you that night, and that he was going to play important minutes for you, and you had to make a call over there to say, hey, we got to get Ethan Thompson off the floor. He's going to play some pivotal minutes for the big league tonight. How unique is that? And I guess what does that say about this kid who just made his NBA debut a few nights earlier?
It's certainly not a typical year in a lot of ways. And look, we knew Shepard wasn't going to play. He wasn't on the trip. The question was, the plan was to start Matthews, who had been playing well, and then, kind of go from there. And it seemed to me like the best thing to do would be to start Matthews, and then, we'll toss Ethan in there. But, what happened was we had some of our interns come up to Chicago. We're working on getting Quentin Jackson back. One of the things he needs to do is play. And so after shoot-around on Friday, a group of low-minute guys and interns were going to play. And, that's Talon Peter, that's Quentin Jackson. I think Ethan assumed he was part of that group too, which is good. And look, if he had played, it probably wouldn't have, may not have made that big a difference. But as we're on the bus headed back to the hotel after shoot-around, I called over there to see if he was playing, because my plan was, not going to be to start him, but to get him in the game pretty early. And somebody said, yeah, they know they just started playing. I said, well, look, pull him out, because he's probably going to play. He's going to play minutes tonight. I don't know how many. And so they pulled him out, so that was kind of it. But that's how this year's kind of been. There's been some unique aspects to it. Challenges / opportunities. And so, one of the challenges is the injuries. And then a great example of opportunity is Ethan Thompson being in the right place at the right time.
Pacers have won 4 of 6. Again, as Rick Carlisle laid out there, a little bit of time off. They'll have Philly and Washington coming up on a Friday and Sunday, but not a ton of game action here over the next 10 days or so. Coach, your next win will be 1,000 for your career. I think you'd become, I believe it's the 11th coach in NBA history to reach the comma mark, if you will. Does that matter to you at all? Does that mean anything to you, that number?
Yeah, I don't know. I it always feels like it's best not to talk about things like this, and just try to keep going, but look, it just means I've been very blessed over the years with a lot of great situations, great ownership, terrific players, a very supportive family, all that. But I don't want to put the horse before the cart. I mean, this year is a very good example of how, winning one NBA game is extremely difficult, and when you get extraordinary circumstances, as we've had this year, putting the chicken before the egg, or the egg before the chicken, or whatever it is, just doesn't feel right.
Rick, to look at other guys on your roster who stepped up, Garrison Matthews, I mean, the guy is an all-out shooter. How have you seen him perhaps find his rhythm as of late? I know early on, wasn't shooting the ball as well, but it seems like he's gotten comfortable just being integrated into this offense with obviously new teammates.
Well, he's a guy that's a gunslinger. He's gonna play his game. He knows who he is. He knows what gets him on an NBA roster and what gets him on the floor. The challenge was that he'd been, I believe, the last cut on New York. It was down to him and Landry Shamet, and the word we got was that he had shot the ball as well, or maybe even a little bit better than Shamet, but there was just the tiebreaker was just the ultimate fit with the team and all that kind of stuff. I don't really know. That doesn't really matter. But he was sitting out for probably the better part of a month, and we went through 4 or 5 different guys before we got to him. And in fact, we had the one workout in Dallas where we worked out 3 guys. Eventually, all 3 guys ended up on the roster. None of the 3 are on the club anymore. And so we were cycling on to another group of 2 or 3 guys, and we thought we had a group of 3 that were going to come in for a workout, but one of them was headed overseas. Another one had some personal things going on, and the timing wasn't right. And so, Garrison was the only guy available. So we brought him in, and we needed shooting, we needed spacing, and the task was to help him get in shape, And so Lloyd Pierce did a really great job, just starting kind of from scratch. Because you can be at home and you can be working out on your own and that kind of stuff, but it's virtually impossible to simulate NBA practices and NBA games. And so it took a good 4 or 5 days to get him to where he felt like his legs were there, and et cetera, et cetera. His first game was at Cleveland, whenever that was, 2.5 weeks ago. He went in the game, he got some clean shots off, nothing went in, but the signs were good, and it kind of went from there. And so when he got to the end of his first 10-day, and we're talking about a 10-day team injury hardship contract. I mean, it's like a whole sentence. It's like you got to say a whole sentence to describe what it is. He hadn't made a lot of shots yet, but it just felt to us like he had done the work and he was close. And so we brought him back, and in the first game he got it going, and then last night he hit some big shots, had a 4-point play, et cetera. And with him, he's a guy you got to account for on a scouting report. I mean, you don't account for him. I mean, I think in 1 or 2 years in the last 4 or 5, he's led the league in 4-point plays, et cetera, et cetera. So an easy guy to like. He's gritty. He's kind of who we are right now as a team, and so we're happy to have him on board.
So, Rick, you talked about bringing in guys for workouts, and the Colts have actually brought in Phillip Rivers, 44-year-old quarterback, in for a workout. So, in your coaching or playing career, do you remember the oldest player you played with or coached?
Oh boy, I'm trying to think. Well, Dirk was the oldest I think that I coached. I think he was
okay.
40, in his 21st year. Look, Jason Kidd was 38 when we won the championship with him, and there have been others, and James Johnson I think was 37 last year. There's been guys like that, but I will say this: do not underestimate Shane Steichen. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that he's the best coach of quarterbacks, really, that anybody's seen in the last several years. I mean, what he's done with a whole long list of guys. And so, to me, the guy's a master. I think he's done an incredible, amazing job this year. There's a long way to go in their season. I know things can look dreary at times, but this is an upbeat fan base, super upbeat franchise, as is the Pacers, and we're really pulling for them.
That's Rick Carlisle again. Pacers have won 4 of 6. They beat Sacramento last night. They've got Philly coming up this weekend. He's with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Did I hear you were at the Purdue game on Saturday?
I was. Yeah, I was there with Sonny Beck from Beck's Hybrids, which is a seed company. Sonny and his operation are supporters of Drive and Dish, which we're grateful for. And he had invited me to a game a long time ago. And so, yeah, I went up there, had amazing seats. What an atmosphere. Had the privilege of sitting with Sonny on my right and Brian Cardinal on my left. Okay, so there's 2 living legends. Now, Cardinal, not only is he a Purdue legend, but Cardinal played for us on the 2011 championship team in Dallas. And I'm going to tell you a short story about Cardinal. So in Game 6, we had played the series in the finals. In the 4th game, we had to make some adjustments to our rotation because of matchups. And so we started playing Brian Cardinal over another more established household name type player. Well, Cardinal was playing effectively. His game is not the most beautiful game in the world, but when you look at his production and what happens as a winning player, the guy's pretty amazing what he did in his career. So we won game 4. to tie the series. We won Game 5. In Game 6 at Miami, we're up 3-2 with a chance to close out the series. Nowitzki gets his second foul like 5 minutes into the game. And so, boom, here comes Cardinal. Now, the score is we're either down 5 or down 7. I forget which. Dirk had a rough shot-making night to start the game. Then he gets 2 fouls. Cardinal comes in the game. We go from, let's say it was down 5. At the end of the first quarter, we were up 7. Okay? We go plus 12 with Cardinal in the game. Dirk comes back in the game. Dirk is continuing to have trouble making shots. So we get into halftime, and Cardinal and Dirk were really good friends, and Cardinal's seat was right next to Dirk's in the locker room. And as we walk in as a coaching staff, Cardinal is in there, and the locker room's pretty quiet, but we still had a 2-point lead. And Cardinal's saying, "Dirk, this is great, man." And he was calling him Dirty. Dirty Dirk was Dirk's nickname. He goes, "Dirty, this is great. You got all the misses out, bro. You just got to keep shooting, and this is going to be great. This is going to be awesome, man." And so we come in, and we end up setting up a play to try to get Dirk an open shot with J.J. Reyes set a pin down for him. He comes off, hits the shot in the second half. He may have missed one shot, but he was great. But Cardinals' impact on that championship is always going to be overlooked. But he's one of the most resourceful players I've ever been around. And when you walk around the Mackey Center with him, the guy, it's like walking around with Tom Brady. I mean, he just everybody knows and loves him, and I certainly know why.
That is some great stuff. Absolute Purdue legend, Brian Cardinal. We'll end with this, Coach, and as always, we appreciate the time. I did have to chuckle a couple games ago. You said afterwards, in regards to timeouts, that it would be great if you could buy timeouts like Val's and Wheel of Fortune. Are you more Wheel of Fortune or are you more Jeopardy?
Oh, gosh, I like both. But, yeah. I mean, look, those timeouts, you're not out of timeouts. They just have a price. And so you just gotta decide if it's worth it to take one and spend a technical free throw or give the team the possession back. As I described after the game, and look, I don't mean to make fun of it or make light of it or anything like that. But if the other team already has the ball and you feel like your guys need, a minute, 15 seconds, for whatever reason, maybe it's, maybe you just don't have a lot of guys left on your roster that night, and you just feel like they need a little bit of a break to finish the game, whatever. If it's already the other team's ball, it's one technical free throw. It's not the end of the world, But I don't like doing it. I only do it when I feel it's necessary. We didn't do it at all last year or the year before, I don't think. These have been extraordinary circumstances this year, so sometimes it happens like that.
Picturing RSTLNE and you up there getting some letters there and the end of Wheel of Fortune. I'm always debating what I would go with there. C, D, would you go with Val? Would you?
Gotta go Val. I feel like you gotta go Val.
Gotta go Val with this RSTLNE.
Well, some of the, there's like on Instagram, there's some of these things where people are making wrong guesses at what the puzzle says, and some of the stuff is, it transcends, the question of which Val you would buy. Let's just put it that way.
I need a documentary on this, to say the least. Pacers night off tonight, so I guess we can watch a little Wheel of Fortune, a little Jeopardy. They'll be back Friday, Sixers, and Sunday afternoon. They've got the Wizards inside of Cambridge Fieldhouse. Coach, thank you as always. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Take care.